Steve Akley here, talking today about the people of the ABV Network. What do they really like? I'm always fascinated by that. I always want to know what people are really like. What are celebrities really like? Are they kind of like what you see, or are they tools behind the scene? Are they really cool people behind the scenes that are just normal and average people who happen to have some sort of skill that's propelled them into superstardom? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Of course, I'm here at my place, the ABV Barrel Shop, Arnold, Missouri. Come by and check out what we've got going on. We always got cool things, like, of course, we got the Bourbon Deluxe. That was talked about in our last video. We're always getting things like that in, so you never know what's going to be here. This might not be here now as we're recording, or as we're dropping this video. It was here when we recorded it, of course, but who knows? We'll see. The stuff doesn't last long, but don't worry, if you miss out, there's always going to be something cool coming up behind it, so just get ready. And be on the lookout, follow our social media. That's going to be the best way to see what we've got going on. And then sign up for our email distribution over at abvbarrelshop.com. So, talking today about the folks, I'm just going to go through the list here. These are the people of the Bourbon Daily and the Bourbon Show. So we're going to start out with the Bourbon Daily. We'll start out with, co-host. The person who's been with me the longest out of anybody here is McNoo. So McNoo she's a character. What's she really like? Well, kind of what you get from the show. I think McNoo's pretty close to that personality. I will say a couple things about McNoo. At some point or another, most people, particularly the ones that I've been with a long time, have had some sort of conflict with them. So, it's just like anything else. You got a friend, a best friend. At some point, you're probably going to get in some sort of argument with your best friend. I never get in a fight with McNoo. McNoo and I always get along. So she's awesome, and certainly in that way, easy to get along with for sure. She's a person who I think more so than anybody else that we're going to talk about today appreciates kind of the level of notoriety that she gets. I feel like, when I met McNoo, she had no aspirations to be on podcasts or anything like that. She actually said yes. I asked her to be on a podcast, and there's a whole backstory there, and I think I've told it on here before, but I'm not going to get into that today. But there's, I asked her to be on the podcast, and she said yes, and she would do it. And then the next thing she did, she had to look up what's a podcast, So she committed to do something she had no idea what it even meant, but she thought it would be cool. And I think more so than anybody, McNoo likes the spotlight and likes being this kind of, pseudo celebrity. None of us are celebrities. None of us are famous. Our personal lives aren't interfered with by being on the Bourbon Daily and the Bourbon Show. But within the world of bourbon, you do have some notoriety, if you will. So there's certainly bourbon fans kind of know who McNoo is. She is a big over-the-top personality. Hanging out with her is kind of like what you hear on the show. So, so she's usually, center of attention, having fun. And, sometimes she doesn't make it till the end of the shows. Sometimes she doesn't make it till the end of the events when we're hanging out there either. So she's just that way. So that's McNoo. Next up is Becca. Becca is known probably most for yelling at people, being the one that you got to be careful. She's getting ready to, she could unload on you at any time. She kind of has that thing going on. And is she like that? Kind of, to some degree. Would she like you to think that she's like that? Yes, she definitely wants that. In reality, pretty sweet person, actually. Pretty nice, caring individual, truly a great friend. Now, that being said, she does get mad at her friends, and when she gets mad, she is what you hear on the Bourbon Daily. She gets that rage-filled. So, yeah, but, I try not to cross her, and out of just about anybody else on here, I don't know that I really hang out with anybody on a social basis other than Becca on this list. I at events and things like that. So these are company sponsored things. Pretty much everybody on this list I've hung out with before, other than Renee, who has never come to Kentucky or anything like that, or St. Louis. So she's been to the U.S. since I've known her, but it was to Florida, going to Disney and stuff. So, with Becca, I hang out with her on a social basis a lot. I stay at her house. Her and her husband Royce are two really close friends of mine, and I think that they're probably a couple of my best friends, both of them, separately and together. So, which is kind of cool and different. And then it's good, other than when they're fighting. And that's the thing about the trio of us, who, if two of them are fighting, the third one, it's very awkward for. And, I felt that because there's times when Becca and Royce are fighting. There's times when Becca and I have been fighting. And then Royce is that third person that's like, I don't know what to do. This is my wife. This is my friend. I'm not involved in this. What do I do? Royce and I don't really fight, so thankfully we've never had any sort of disagreement. But yeah, it does happen sometimes in that. But other than that, Becca's a great person. I enjoy being on with her. She's funny, like she is on the shows, and quick-witted, and just a good person to hang out and be around. Tim Swatt, what's that guy like? Well, also kind of what you imagine on the show. He's kind of like that uncle that's, a wild card and doesn't know how to handle social human interaction, right? So you've always got that one guy you're like, oh, yeah, if you just say something, just a little bit disparaging about someone, like, oh, did you see so-and-so's hair today? So you're at an ABV Network event, and then they say that, and then that person happens to walk over, and Tim's like, oh my God, he was just complaining about your hair. He's right, it's terrible. He's one of those guys, it's just, he doesn't know what you should say and what you shouldn't, what you should just keep confidential, and that would be Tim. But overall, great guy, caring individual, good person for sure. Good family guy, 3 kids, spread out, that's a funny component of it too, Tim famously, has kids that are like 8 years apart. So that's a long time of being a parent. You get each stage, and just as one's ready to kind of be on their own, you got the next one coming along. So yeah, it's kind of funny. He's got the third one. He says the final one. I think he might be ready for one more. I think he's got one more in him. We'll see. But yeah, right now he's got one that's in high school, and I think maybe college. I'm not sure. I think high school for the last one. He's got a son that's in college and maybe high school for one, so I don't know. But Tim's a really good dude. Jeff Andrezy, you talk about a good guy. Jeff Andrezy is just a good guy. He wanted to come on the shows. Definitely made an active push to get on there. I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't sure if the world was ready for Minnesota nice guy to be on, but he is really funny, and he is definitely a guy that I like a lot. Just about any time I'm getting shows started, I have to ask people to be on. One of the first people I always ask is Jeff, because I think he adds a lot to the show. He's got the bourbon knowledge, he's got the quick wit and funniness. He's a dependable guy. I don't know. I pretty much like everything about Jeff. He's really. He'd be a guy that I'd definitely hang out with if he lived close. We're approximately the same age and that type of thing. He's definitely a good dude. So I'm a big fan of Jeff and what he brings to the shows. Justine. So Justine is, she's recently come back. For a while, she decided she had, I've had enough Bourbon Daily and ABV Network for a while. And that's just kind of Justine. But one of my favorite people's, probably one of my best friends in the whole world, Justine Mays. A confidant, somebody I can talk to about things. Did I say I pretty much hang out with nobody else on here? But Justine is someone that I definitely hang out with on a social basis. Now, we live far apart. So she's in Holt, Michigan. I'm in St. Louis. So it's not like we're hanging out every day. But yeah, on a social basis, I hang out with Justine. She stays at our house when she comes here, to St. Louis. And she comes out to help out a lot. Things like the ABV Barrel Shop. We got a big festival or something like that. She comes in and volunteers. When we're doing an event like at Neely's, we got one coming up at Neely in June. We've got the Bootlegger Day. So Justine's going to be there. And I was like, I need someone to load the drums with bullets. Would you be willing to do that? So she helps out a lot, and just someone I can bounce stuff off of. So she's a really great friend and awesome person. The kind of what you hear is what you get with her too. She's knowledgeable, she's funny, but she does not like to be made fun of. And so sometimes I get in the crosshairs for that because I'm a guy who always likes to give people shit. And so every once in a while I say something that about Justine, just like I say about everybody else. I only kid people that I like, by the way. If I'm not saying something about them, it's like I don't want to get in an argument with them because I don't even like this person. If I like you, I'm probably going to make fun of you at some point. So Justine doesn't like that, and sometimes she gets mad at me and doesn't talk to me for 3 days, a month, or 3 years. It just depends. So, but yeah, really, other than that, great friend and certainly enjoy her. Kathy Cool, fun to be around. Kathy is just like she's fun on the shows. Kathy's the real deal. So she is somebody that is, very positive, She believes everything she reads on the internet, so sometimes that can be a problem. Whatever she sees on the internet is the truth to her. So when people say that they believe that birds are droids run by the government or whatever, she's like, there's a lot of people like that. I'm like, I don't think there's anybody like that. I think it's a good joke that people like to. I mean, I kind of like it. I think it's kind of funny, and I like to perpetuate it. Be like, say, like, oh yeah, they're all just robots anyway, stuff like that. But I think she reads it on the internet and is like, Steve said that he probably believes that those birds are not real. So she's just one of those types. But other than that, pretty. And again, we're about the same age. And we deal with the same sort of things in our lives. So, what do you deal with when you get a little bit older? The aches and pains, aging parents. We both have a mother that we try to be as helpful as we can for. And when your mom gets to be, in their 80s or, whatever her mom age is now, that, sometimes they're not appreciative of it. They are, can be combative and think like, why are you doing this to me? And, the roles get reversed at some point. We go from, we're parents, we have parents, and then at some point the roles kind of reverse, and it's the kid taking care of the adult at some point. And that can be a tough transition. Most people, fight that, and I certainly see that with my mom, and I see it, Kathy dealing with some things with her mom too. So we've got that bond for sure. So Kathy and I, have that. Ryan Thompson. Ryan Thompson's a classic because the big running joke with Ryan is that he's a billionaire. He's not a billionaire really when it comes to financial wealth, and people again take that, as gospel because we say that a lot, that he's a billionaire. He's not a billionaire, but he's got a lot of businesses. He's got a distillery, he's got a restaurant, he's got a hotel, and that's impressive. There's not too many people. Ryan he's younger than me. I don't know. He's in his 50s, I think, so early 50s, but I think that that's a lot of businesses to have, and they're in Vail, Colorado, by the way. So this isn't I own these three things, but they're in some suburb of St. Louis that is a very small town. No, this is in Vail, Colorado, where things are pretty expensive. I'm sure labor's expensive. Everything is just expensive there, and he seems to do a good job with it. And what's unique about him though is the fact that while we're close enough in age that we should have a lot of the same experiences, Ryan really doesn't have anything pop culture that he knows about, like, things that are really popular and things like that. He has no idea. There's movies that are, we ask him about Harry Potter, and I've never even watched a Harry Potter movie. I've never read a book, but I know Harry Potter, and I hear things, Gandalf or whatever. He wouldn't know any of that stuff because he doesn't know anything about pop culture. You mention things that you think people would know, and he has no clue about it. I'm not sure how that happens. Is he just so business focused that he misses out on all this other stuff? I'm not sure. So it's pretty wild. Next up, one that's been coming on a lot here recently, Jim Goken. He cracks me up. He's also he's a little bit older than me. I don't know how old Jim is. But somewhere near my age. I would list us as the same age, even though we're not physically the exact same year. We're the same age, kind of in the same thing. He's getting ready to retire. I'm looking at retirement. What are my options down the road and things like that. He's kind of doing the same thing. His is imminent. His will be this year, so it's going to be kind of fun. So it's kind of one of those things where you kind of like to look at what someone's doing who's just ahead of you, so you can help kind of utilize what they're doing to kind of plan for yourself. But he's interesting too because I think that I am adept at interacting with people, and people of all different ages and all different backgrounds and things like that. Whereas Jim is kind of this old guy mentality, and he has no clue about things like that. When we were at that event, and he decides he wants a s'mores, and Becca's making one. He's like, "Hey, Becca, make me one of those s'mores too." And she's like, "No, what are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, my wife makes them for me." And that's like the wrong answer under any circumstance, particularly the wrong answer with Becca. And he almost got his ass kicked, which would have been oddly funny in some ways, sad in others. More funny than sad, but there would be some sadness there. He's just, I don't know, but I enjoy him being on because he's a bit of a wild card. So yeah, Goken is interesting. And he gets yelled at a lot by Becca, which I enjoy. I think it's always good for the show. And I think you guys enjoy that too. So that's one of the reasons he's on. Someone who's also been with me a long time, when we're talking about the Bourbon Show now, Renee Howe. Again, Renee is an incredibly nice person, very private about her private life. I probably know less about Renee than I know about any other person on this list. I don't know a whole lot about Renee or her background. I know a little bit, things that she shared with me, but not a whole lot. But she's a likable person, dependable person. She, seems to deal with the same things we all deal with, which is kind of funny because you see her, she's like, well-dressed, and you think, well, somebody who's, well-dressed, attractive, cool, kind of into fashion and things like that, that their life is just going to be easy, right? Well, it seems like she deals with the same crap the rest of us do. So I don't know. It's kind of funny to see. And Renee is very awesome, and I've enjoyed definitely working with her for all these years. She's been on both the Bourbon Daily and the Bourbon Show, and she's good person for sure. So Renee's just great. Nothing bad to say at all about Renee. She's awesome. Jeremy Shell. This guy, a lot of people want to know how I met Jeremy and all that. And it was really a co-host had met Jeremy standing in line for a bourbon release and said, hey, he's knowledgeable. He has a marketing background. He does some work with some of the distilleries and things like that. He'd be a good person to have on. And what was cool about Jeremy is, again, kind of like McNoo a little bit, that really appreciates the level of fame that comes to you within bourbon circles. Jeremy certainly is the same way. He would always come prepared. We used to do shows on the Bourbon Daily, like Jeremy Shell Week. Let's talk about what do we do for parties or whatever. And he would have 5 shows ready to go and do that. He also helped me a lot too. I had a couple partners in this business when I started on podcasting and things like that, and they eventually left, and I had to take over all of their roles, social media and website and those type of things. And he really, I was like, the website, I was like, just give that away. I don't know how to do a website. I don't know how. He started doing all this stuff just for free, just because he believed in the show and the concept and liked being on the shows and stuff. And, I think that's one of those things that people don't know about and don't see. They think Jeremy's kind of the smarmy guy. He's been successful in life and, a bit of a character and a ball breaker. Certainly he's that on the show. But, he's a good guy, and it helped out me a lot of things, get the company going. We used to hang out a lot on, social level. I go to Kentucky, we always, go and do things. Don't do a whole lot of that stuff anymore. Not that I have any issue or anything like that. It's just we both gotten busier as we both retired and seemingly done less. But we're both just, so we don't get the opportunity to hang out much like we used to, though we still play cards and stuff like that from time to time. But, good guy. Maybe a better person than you comes across on the shows, but he's a good dude. I'm happy to have him in the mix, and glad I got to know him for sure. He's definitely helped me build what we have today, so that's pretty cool. So there's a look at who these people are, who's the team. So I think that's something that we wanted to cover, and hopefully that gives you an idea about the team behind the scenes at the ABV Network. That's going to do it for today. We'll see you very soon.